Kent and Townie sing this song, doo-da, doo-da. Kent and corruption all day long, oh doo-da day. A lot of focus has been placed on Karen Reid's actions the morning Officer John O'Keefe was found frozen on retired Detective Brian Albert's front lawn. Let's take a closer look at what transpired that morning. When Karen awoke and realised John didn't come home that night, she did not, as others have claimed, make a beeline directly to his lifeless body at 34 Fairview Road. In retelling the events that were publicly revealed in court, most narrators leave out the details of how Karen was able to find John. We know Karen had Kerry Roberts' phone number, since her text messages mention Kerry and presumably her husband were heading out in a bit. So it comes as no surprise that Kerry's who she called first, who admits John was out earlier with her husband, and that is why Karen called her. From what she says to Sergeant Good on the phone, we can safely assume she set Karen on the path of tracking down John's last movements while she called hospitals and police to see if he'd been picked up during the night. Here's part of that phone call.
Camp Police Sergeant Good.
Hi, my name is Carrie. I'm calling because my friend's boyfriend did not come home last night. They were at Waterfall, and now she is calling me hysterical because she doesn't know where he is. You didn't pick anybody up by the name of John O'Keefe, did you?
John O'Keefe?
Yeah, he's a Boston cop, and he would be on foot, but...
No.
I think he probably got a ride and passed out at someone's house. I don't know, but...
Yeah, but no, we didn't lock anybody up or anything like that. And where does he live?
He lives on Meadow, right off of Pleasant.
He lives on Meadow, off of Pleasant. Okay, and when is the wife home? You said his girlfriend?
It's his girlfriend, yeah. They were out having drinks, and then she left and expected him to come home at some point, and he never did.
Yep.
And so I said to her, you know, my husband had been out with him earlier in the night, but then he came home, and he has custody of his niece and nephew because their parents passed away.
Okay.
And so she's home with the niece and nephew, and they're old enough to be home. It's just she's nervous because he never even called the niece.
Yeah.
So she's like, I feel like something happened, and I said, okay.
Notice she says she's nervous and said, I feel like something happened. Not that Karen was panicked and saying things like, I killed him. Kerry goes on to explain why Karen was freaking out.
Well, so he called the area hospital. Nobody has him. I personally think someone probably picked him up and he passed out. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He didn't drive last night?
No.
No. Okay. Again, it's more, it would be driven by, she would have to, call in, come to the station, and talk to us. But, I mean, as of right now, it's more, he just didn't come home last night.
Sure.
Is this common sometimes?
Exactly.
Happen with him?
No. That's why. Since he didn't call his niece, that's kind of why she's more freaking out. So I figured I called the area hospitals. I said I would call Canton police just to make sure he didn't get picked up. But like I said, he's a Boston police officer. He knows a bunch of people. Anybody could have picked him up.
Yeah.
Freaking it out.
Okay.
Apparently they were having a blizzard party of some sort.
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
Unfortunately, I wasn't there. I was stuck here. But we didn't get any calls, anything like that. Nobody was arrested or anything like that.
Okay.
All righty.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right, no problem. Good luck.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
From her own words, it appears Kerry agrees with Karen that John would never simply not come home to the kids, and it was concerning to her as well. Strikingly, Kerry does not mention a vast majority of what she testified to on the witness stand. In the meantime, as Karen was practically a stranger to most who were with her and John the previous night, other than the Roberts, It goes without saying she would not have anyone else's phone numbers stored in her phone. But it seems she did recall it was Jennifer McCabe's sister, Nicole Albert, whose house she left John at that night. Important to note, had she been as drunk as claimed by others, remembering where she left John would not have been so easily recalled. Nonetheless, since she clearly spent more time with the kids than anyone else in John's family, she knew John's niece would know how to reach Jennifer McCabe. I imagine she said something like, "John didn't come home from your sister's place last night. Can I get the address so I can go check if he's still there?" Or something to that effect. Between speaking with Jennifer on the phone and arriving at the McCabe residence, a good 10 minutes would have transpired. Recall, the incoming blizzard had commenced, making the drive a lot slower. During that 10 minutes, Jennifer had time to think of a game plan to steer Karen away from her sister's house. Without Jennifer McCabe's 2:27 a.m. Google search, we'd have no reason to believe she had any motive to stall Karen from going back to 34 Fairview Road. It's the mere existence of that Google search which leads us to believe John was slowly dying in the cold and she was well aware of it. Had she simply given Karen the address over the phone, then help would arrive much sooner. We also know Karen didn't have the address from the night before because Trooper Guarino testified on the stand that John used his own phone to find the address using his Waze app. So it stands to reason that if John were to stand a chance of survival, Karen needed to obtain the address pronto from Jennifer, who, from all accounts including her own, appears to have avoided providing it. Instead, she apparently feigned concern and convinced Karen not to drive to 34 Fairview Road on her own. She wasted precious moments of John's life having Karen first drive all the way back to her house while she and Matt McCabe devised a game plan. And then she wasted yet more precious moments of John's life driving Karen all the way back to John's house despite his niece being there to double check anything Jen thought Karen may have missed. Even during her testimony, Jennifer was unable to give a reasonable explanation as to why she did not recognise the urgency in which Karen required the address that only she of the three women knew. Instead, she went into great detail describing the half an hour or so she wasted giving redundant instructions to the other two women, which would ultimately waste moments of John's precious life as he lay slowly dying on her sister's front lawn. Jen's description of the search at John's house does not convey any urgency whatsoever. She described looking around John's house as if he'd somehow made his way under the sofa or into a closet without Karen or his niece noticing. And neither her nor Kerry provided a reasonable explanation for searching where Karen and John's niece had already searched before calling Jen for the address. In fact, the prosecutor seemed more concerned with Karen not removing her shoes when they all returned to re-search where she'd already searched, than exploring the reason they were all re-searching where she'd already searched. The fact that Karen didn't remove her shoes is testimony to her being the only one who recognised the urgency of the situation as the blizzard came down more heavily, causing outdoor temps to drop even lower, while the other two blithering idiots wasted precious time rechecking her steps as if she and John's niece were somehow incompetent. It would ultimately be the conflicting testimony of these two women, one who claims Karen pointed out her broken taillight on the way into John's house for the additional search, and the other trying to fix the conflict of ring cam footage not supporting the first woman's testimony by claiming it happened on the way out, that would unravel this part of the story, which most commentators would come to ignore when retelling it. In fact, one particular media outlet would disingenuously transpose Karen's frantic screams upon finding John's lifeless body and try to pass it off as her behaviour earlier that morning when she first called Kerry and kicked off the initial search. But, of course, as they well know, you can't tell this particular part of Karen's story without exposing the actions of the other two women who were largely responsible for wasting precious moments of John's life. Precious moments that may have been the difference between life and death.